We are live. Greetings, greetings, family. Welcome to the Sista Shanice Black Empowerment Show. As you can see, we have a fantastic panel lineup again for you here today. Woo, woo, woo. Rising up, rising up. We are live. Ooh. Greetings, greetings, family. I'm so sorry. This is Shanice Empowerment Show. As you can see, we have a fantastic panel lineup again for you here today. I've obviously got something going on in the background here. Greetings, greetings, family. I'm so sorry. It's all happening. It's all happening. As you can see, got rid of that. As if I want to hear my own voice coming back at me. My apologies, family. Okay, welcome. Please do let us know that you're joining us once you're in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from. Greetings, family. So, Sista Shanice here. Thank you very much for joining us. Once again, we have been running a series of Wednesday evening shows. And, we've been having some deep discussions. Okay.
There's some feedback, Sister Shanice.
I'm hearing it. I've turned off my, if you've got us on YouTube, please turn it off. So my brother Leo, brother Kwaku, brother Abu, if you've got us on a different channel on YouTube, you can put it on mute, which is fine. We won't get the feedback if it's on mute. Otherwise, please do turn it off. So let's see who we've got in the chat already. Oh, rise up. We've got someone tuning in from Vegas. Vegas is in the house. Teddy Bear Feet is in the house. Rise yourself up. Brother William Perry in the house. Fantastic. Sister Verna's in the house from the phenomenal Black Women's series of events. Rise yourself up. She says she's looking forward to today's show. We've got Lance from the USA in the house. Rise yourself up, Brother Lance. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we've got Letitia in the house as well. Teddy's from Peckham. Thank you. And Alicia's saying, we're a regal family. Vudum from the South London region. Vudum back at you, my sis. And we've got Sister Afri Jamo in the house. Rise up. She's bigging up the panel, and she's in the UK via Jamaica. So Oracle as well of the Bantu people, we welcome you to the show. We have Sister Kahi from the Diaspora channel in the house as well, and others are continuing to join. And we're certainly looking forward to a really interesting discussion today. We got Twin Spirit who says, I hope the Queen of Sheba isn't selling out. She's beautiful. You're going to be finding out what we've been hearing from the Queen of Sheba a little later in the show today. Rise up, Sister Yoga. Good to know that you're in the house. So, we're just giving our people a few moments to join. Let me run round our wonderful panel and ask each of them to just introduce themselves to the family, and then we'll be going straight into our topic for discussion, because don't we have a lot that we want to be discussing with you today. Rise up, Sister Veronica as well, who's joining us. Okay, over to Prophet Kwaku. Rise up, Prophet Kwaku.
Yes, rise up. A kwaba to everybody who's tuning in. To my two brothers and my sister. Greetings in the name of the creating force of the universe, the omnipotent being that which is greater than ourselves, who has many names. Oludumare, Kulukulu, Kwame Blaforshe, Mungo, Ja Amanra Ashe. May the creating force of the universe anoint us in this evening of communications and, giving our view onto a situation that transpired over the last 5 days. Prophet Kwaku, affectionately known Prophet Meduti, here in Brutish Britain. Member of the Garvey Town Project in Ghana, member of the Nubian African Community Foundation School, ex-co-chair of the African Emancipation Day Reparation March Committee 2015 to 2019, and I'm Pan-Africanist activist here in Britain, and also a pilot on GalaxyAfiwe.com.
Rise up, Prophet Kwaku. Much love and respect to you. Thank you so much for that introduction there. Going over to our dear Dr. Abu. Welcome.
Budum family. Rise up to
Vodum.
my brother. Rise up
Budum.
to my sister. And rise up to all the family member them that's tuning in. You know, I'm Abu Ratata, you know, co-manager at Galaxy Radio, community activist, and just an African. We're born in England and try to survive. You know, this maze and this chaos that we're in. You know, can't so much more, but that will do for now. Good.
Vodum, rise up, Dr. Abu. And we go over to our dear brother Leo Muhammad. Rise up, brother Leo. He's on a few seconds delay, but he'll be coming in.
In
Oh
the
dear.
name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you, my beloved brothers in the studio, my beautiful sister in the studio, and those who are tuning into this evening's broadcast. I want to greet all of you in the greeting words of peace. Say it in the ancient tongue of Arabic, Assalamu alaikum. Dear brothers and sisters, I am once again very honored and privileged to be a part of this broadcast. I think we're supposed to subject matter coronavirus in Africa, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation, and very thankful and grateful to our Sista Shanice for once again inviting me to be a part of this esteemed panel. And so I'm Leo Muhammad. I am an active in the United Kingdom. I am one of the watchmen on alert for the enemy's machinations against our people worldwide, whether we are on the continent or here in the diaspora. I am active in many different hats as far as the liberation struggle of our people is concerned, and really just trying to be a brother to my, that's me.
Rise up, brother Leo Muhammad. Always a pleasure to have you on board. The Gremlins have got your system again, and it's going to make it a little difficult for us, but we will work through it because, you know, we always want to hear from you. So we rise up our brother Leo Muhammad in the house. So Sista Shanice here, as you know, I do run the Sista Shanice Show channel, and all of you who have subscribed to the channel, thank you so, so much. To those of you who have yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, please. What are you waiting for? Yeah, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already hit the like button, please do hit the like button as well. I also am a presenter on the Big G Galaxy Alfiwi, and I will put information in the description box below when you can hear me on the radio, when you can hear Dr. Abu, and also for when you can hear Prophet Kwaku, okay, on the Big G. I'm also an author. I often forget to plug my book, but today I've remembered. Here it is, author of the book, My Coconut Trees. Okay, fantastic, inspirational book. The first of what I hope will be a few more books that I'll be writing, family. So, yeah, please do check it out. You can get copies from me directly, or you can get copies from Amazon, okay? And or there's some bookstores in the UK, if you're in the UK, KK, that you can get copies of the book from as well. So, you know, I also do tours to Africa. We would have been in Zimbabwe now with about 50 of us or so enjoying Zimbabwe, but COVID locked that down. I also had a trip planned for us to go to Tanzania in October. COVID locked that one down as well, but certainly looking forward to getting the trips up and running again next year, all being well. Want to rise up, brother Delani in the house as well. Dr. D in the house, rise yourself up. Oracles of the Bantu people, Jojo, rising you all up. Greetings to each and every one of you. Okay, so yeah, brother Leo Muhammad, we were going to be talking about COVID, but there was a seminar that we all attended during the week, and it's so important because it has such far-reaching implications for Africa. We all felt that we needed to have a discussion about that seminar today, and you will be able to pick up very quickly the concerns that we had, and I'm sure you'll definitely be able to contribute to the discussion from your wider knowledge of the way that these covert societies actually operate on the continent, and how they can influence Africa's agenda, which may not necessarily be to Africa's advantage. So people are still joining the stream, but what I'm going to suggest is that we go over to the discussion straight away, so that we've got enough time to really begin to dig deep into what's going on, well, as deep as we can do within the 2 hours that we've got, because as we know, time always flies by so quickly. So let's talk about this conference, and let's talk about this fourth industrial revolution that this conference was talking about. So the questions that we're going to be asking ourselves today, family, is the fourth industrial revolution an Illuminati set up with big business, investment bankers, financiers, and are the very powerful really behind this agenda and the ones that are pushing it? Secondly, we're going to be asking ourselves what the role is of the Queen of Sheba, the third, in this whole fourth industrial revolution. And many of you may ask, who is the Queen of Sheba, the third? I've never heard of her. To be honest, I hadn't heard of her either until I attended this webinar that we're going to be talking about here today. So we're going to be discussing the questions that I've just put, and we're going to be, as a panel, inviting you in the audience as well to comment via the chat. So feel free to put your comments, suggestions, and opinions in the chat, and we will go to the chat and pull up some of your comments and remarks. So first of all, what's this fourth industrial revolution all about? Well, apparently this fourth industrial revolution is about the automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial practices using modern smart technology. So this whole movement around this fourth industrial revolution is suggesting that we're now moving from the technological age into a new industrial revolution age, which is going to be about automation of manufacturing practices, industries, and all this modern smart technology. And it comes from the works of someone called Schwab, who's argued in his book that a technological revolution is underway that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. Simply put, the fourth industrial revolution refers to how technologies like artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, and the internet are things that are going to be merging with human physical lives. Things like voice-activated assistants, facial ID recognition, or digital healthcare sensors. So this Schwab, he's argued that these technological changes are going to be drastically altering how individual companies and governments actually operate. And ultimately, he's arguing it's going to be leading to a societal transformation similar to previous industrial revolutions, which has revolutionized and changed the world as we know it. Now, this fourth industrial revolution, to add to that, is characterized by a fusion of digital biological and physical worlds, as well as the growing utilization of new technologies, as I said, as like artificial intelligence. It would include cloud computing, robotics, 3D printing, the Internet of Things, and advanced wireless technologies, among others. Okay, so they're the thinkers and the movers and shakers and the powers that be have come up now with this fourth industrial revolution ideological concept. And what they're going to want to try and do is usher it in and impose it basically on the world. Yeah, remember, they're going to be the movers and shakers. They're the ones who are going to be the leaders in all of this. They are the ones who are already light years ahead in terms of the technological development and advancement around this, because Africa, for example, is still trying to catch up with the last industrial revolution, which is around the technological aspect of things, because, as you know, Africa has been challenged in terms of having the appropriate infrastructure in place to allow it to compete on a level playing field. So this new industrial revolutionary age that they are promoting basically could have major socio-economic consequences for Africa. So just when you think Africa is catching up, what do? Change the playing field. So this is a large scale move. Machines as we know it, they're saying, is going to change. It's, you know, it's not even going to be people operating machines anymore. It's going to be machine to machine operation. It's going to be machine communicating with other machines via the internet and things. It's going to be integrated for increased automation. So, you know, at a time when Africa has a burgeoning youth, when the number of young people in Africa, you know, is outstripping the youth population anywhere in the world, at a time when we ought to be planning to be creating jobs and opportunities for those young people in Africa and looking to put the infrastructure in place that's going to allow Africa to be able to do that, the rest of the world, or the Western world, has changed the playing field and are talking about increased automation, which means fewer jobs for fewer people. For them, it's about improving communication and self-monitoring. For them, it's about increasing productivity and smart machines. For them, it's being able to diagnose illnesses and sicknesses using machines rather than doctors and nurses, being able to supply machinery, medicines and drilling techniques and agricultural farming techniques, all using robotics and computers and programs rather than people. Is this the way that we want to go for Africa? That's the question that you would have expected that those with the interest of Africa at the forefront of their mind would have been asking. So, you know, we were asking that question. And so this is one of the reasons why we're asking, is this fourth generation narrative an Illuminati psyops? You know, and you have to follow the money when it comes to the Illuminati. You know, this elite group that operates in the shadows and the corridors, but are very much in control of where the money is spent, the narrative, and where they want to push the world, you know, so that they can remain in control. So it's this fourth revolution industrial powerhouse now that's coming out. These are the people from the Western world that are going to be at the forefront of it all. It means a dependency situation, does it not, for the rest of the world who may not be able to keep up? Follow the money and let's see who the winners and who the losers are going to be with this new industrial development. So, you know, as a people, we have to remember that, you know, there's indoctrination that's going on a daily basis. We are being told how to think, what to think. We are being directed in terms of the way we ought to be thinking our nation should be going. You know, our perception of reality, we have to remember, is shaped by their media. It's shaped by their educational institutions. It's shaped by their policymakers. It's shaped by their think tanks. So sometimes we might think that we are thinking for ourselves, not realizing that actually our thinking and our version of reality has been shaped by people who don't look like us, who may not necessarily have our interest at heart. And what tends to happen is, unfortunately, is a lot of the leaders who don't have time to think just go along with the policymakers, you know, that are reeling out policies, revolutionary initiatives that is favoring their part of the world, but may not necessarily be favoring our part of the world that we have an interest in. So we need to be critical when it comes to these ideological concepts and new movements, you know, that they're trying to get us to buy into. We have to have Africa's best interest at the forefront of our mind. And we have to think where Africa is actually strategically positioned in all of this. So their concept of a new digital industrial revolution and a new industrial age is a multi-trillion-dollar industry for them, because they are equipped to lead on this industry. So clearly they're going to want to be the lead players. They're going to want to pull Africa along by the collar. And they're the ones who are going to want to come in, impose all of their technological businesses and corporations in Africa on the basis that they've got the skills, they're equipped to do it, and we're not. Just like all the oil that they're pumping out of Africa, that Africa only gets the destruction of and very little in return, just like all of the other huge mineral corporations, mining corporations that are in Africa doing all of the mining. And while they're making all of the riches and it's boosting up their stock exchange, the vast majority of the people in Africa just look on, wondering when they're going to be able to enjoy a little bit of the wealth that's coming out of their country. So with all of that as a backdrop, there was a delegation of us from the diaspora that attended a 4-day webinar. Well, we tried to attend all 4 days. This webinar was an exclusive royal affair titled The Fourth Industrial Revolution, Global Reset. So then I look for reset, the preset. And it was also the inauguration of the Crown Council of the Diaspora Global Nation. So it was a very regal and royal affair. There were people like HRH Prince Shabani. Of course, you had the Queen of Sheba, the third. There was the HRH Sultan Adam Sheikh, HRH King Taka, the fourth. You had HRH Prince Alfonso. There were princes and kings from all the different kingdoms across Africa. I mean, the place, it was full of dignitaries who were totally absorbed in what was going on. And there was 4 days of presentations. 99% of those presenting were businesses, European businesses from South Africa, from Canada, from Europe, all pitching to the African dignitaries about how their big businesses can do business in Africa. Of course, they're going to suggest that it's going to be for the benefit of Africa, but is what they're offering what Africa needs and Africa wants? And is it going to be to the benefit of Africa? Is it really going to be to the benefit of Africa? Now, I'm just going to say a little bit about who this queen is, and then I'm going to go straight over to the panel members, firstly, who were at the conference, and then, to our brother who can comment on a political policy level perspective on all of this. Not to suggest that my other panel members are not going to, but I say that because our brother Leo wasn't at the event. So there's many of you who may be asking, who is the Queen of Sheba? I've not heard of her. I didn't even know that there was a modern day Queen of Sheba. Well, let me tell you a little bit about who this modern day Queen of Sheba is, because to be honest, until I went to the event, I'd not heard of her either. Okay, so here we go. Many have asked, it says, only know the Queen of Sheba, the original Queen of Sheba, okay, the one that visited Solomon with all of her wealth that she brought from Africa. Well, the modern day Queen of Sheba is little known among circles where she's not prominent, but her influence and her power is felt throughout the world, it says here. But I must say her influence and her power was certainly felt at that event. You can Google her and look her up. So she is the Imperial Majesty, it says, the Nubia Sheba Empress of the African Royal Kingdoms, the Queen of Sheba, Queen Sheba III. She was born in 1963 to Asari Kasumbu, and that's the Ra line descendants, and HRM Prince Michael I, and HRM Queen Mary Ra the seventh, and the daughter of the late Nubian imperial matriarch Iris Mereri II, and in Trinidad and Tobago. So she was actually born in Trinidad and Tobago, although she's got this lineage that goes back to the Nubian empires, the Kushite empires, etc., etc. And it says that she is the descendant of the oldest matriarchal throne in Africa, which originated in Kush, present-day South Sudan, and she's recognized as such by many African kingdoms throughout the continent. Queen Sheba III was enthroned back in January 2000, and actually part of this event was celebrating her 20th year coronation. And it says that she's currently the vice president of the Arab African Supreme Council for Africa Affairs. So that's Arab Africa Supreme Council for African Affairs. How much? But anyway, I won't go to that now. And she's also the she's also head of. Okay, yeah, cheers. Sorry about that, family. Right, so she's head of the African Kingdom Federation and Organizations, and she's seeking to restore the Federation of African Kingdoms under the belief that Africans and its descendants are all one people. Now, this African Federation of Kingdoms, you know, that's all the kingdoms right across Africa. So as you can see, she's got tentacles in the Arab world as well as in the African world, sits on the African Kingdoms Federation. She heads that up, and she's also part of the organization of, so she's got numerous positions and titles to her name, and sits on many, many bodies. And wow, was she influential or was she not influential at the meeting, the webinar that we attended? I must say, when I was hearing what I was hearing, I was making my comments like some of us were in the chat, and we were unceremoniously kicked out. But I'll tell you more about that in a little while. Let me, at this stage, after my introduction now, go over to Prophet Kwaku, who was an attendee at the event. Prophet Kwaku, please give us your perspective about the Fourth Revolution event that you attended, that had our Queen of Sheba very much at the helm of what was going on.
I don't know if it's our Queen of Sheba. I know that is the Queen of Sheba III. Like yourself, sister.
Oh, what's happened there?
The meeting.
Okay, yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I've never heard of her. I don't know who she was. I didn't know where she came from. When I got the information that was sent to me, I read up a bit on it. I was more concerned with the state of the African diaspora group. That is something that is more of a concern to me, more than the Queen of Sheba at the moment, to be quite honest. But visiting that meeting over the 4 days, I had some very serious concerns, because what they were talking about was the fourth industrial revolution, the reset. If if you buy a mobile phone and you put all the information in it, boom, 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 rate, and then you reset it to the factory settings, what does it do to all the panel? That is a question to all the panel. What does it do when you reset your phone?
Right, wipe out everything that was gone before, starting with a blank sheet.
It goes back to the original settings. Would the panel agree with that?
Yes.
Right. So then, if it's going back to the original settings, how is it that they might talk about reset, but some whole heap of different people are come to reset the thing? It now go back to its original state. Because if you're talking about resetting Africa, that means it's putting Africans in charge of African wealth, African in charge of African resources, Africans in charge of Africans' determination, aspirations, and dreams. what I saw in this thing was quite frightening, because I saw a whole load of foreigners, Arabs, Europeans, at one stage Indians, determining what Africa should be and how Africa should be in different technological aspects. So, for example, there was a man, I remember this man, I think his name was Peter Warren or something like that. Mark Warren, something like that. He was talking about AI technology. One of the things that he said that he spoke to the CEO of Microsoft, not Bill Gates. Because he's no longer the CEO of Microsoft. And they bought 3 companies, paying probably about $1 billion each for them. And said, and these companies were supposed to be high in artificial intelligence technology. And then made a statement that they got nothing from it. You pay so much money and you don't get nothing from it. He then went on to say that AI technology has gone as far as it can go. It can't go no further. Then he spoke about whether AI technology was intelligent or whether AI technology was unintelligent, depending on who was querying it. You understand me? So I rang in. So no, somebody asked a question and said, no, then he started to speak about cloud and storage. You know, the cloud business that people are dealing with now, iCloud and storage and things like that. And he was saying people can put their stuff in iCloud now because it's there already. So somebody asked a question, well, can Africans create their own iCloud and have their own storage space? And he said, oh, no, you don't have to go with that now more because it's already done. It's like recreating a wheel. So me calling him and say, well, why shouldn't Africans have their own storage and their own iCloud? So people can come and buy from our iCloud. No, because they want to control all the information in their areas. This man, by the way, he has certain patents on AI technology, this particular man, the scientist. And so you add these various characters speaking about finance, speaking about law, speaking about socialization, speaking about farming, a whole host of things. 99% of the people that made presentations were not of African stock. And one of the most insulting things for me is that the Queen herself made representation of the white man that was actually hosting the event. I can't remember his name. I didn't really pay much attention to him, but I can say saying that his grandmother or something was African. This is what they said. Man of white and blonde hair and all them something there. Yeah. And so for me, what was disturbing was that they were claiming that this sister here, who by the way says that she has African, Arab, and European ancestry. So she says, if you read up on her, that's what you will read. They also say that she came about through the lineage of some people from Sierra Leone after the abolition of enslavement of Africans, or around about 1777 or something like that. Yeah. And they were invited over by cocoa farmers in Trinidad who were freed Africans who were never enslaved. That's what it says when you read up about her. Yes, she came into that family. So so she evidently is not the descendants of the kidnapped people then. She's actually, they've actually removed her from that. You understand me? And so she's a direct lineage. Now, you know, I hear all this stuff about Queen of Sheba. I don't know how true it is, because in my research, it doesn't seem like she really existed, just like Solomon and all the rest of them. You understand? These are fables. These are parables. They're stories after older stories. You understand what I'm saying to you? You go to Palestine, which they call Israel now, and you can't see no remains of no Solomon's temple and nothing like that. Nothing no exists. You go one place, it's just rubble and say it was there. There's nothing to show that it's there. But you go to Kemet and you can still see temples. You can still see buildings or even fallen structures. And you know that these people exist. You can go to Sudan and see pyramids. More pyramids in Sudan than in Kemet itself. You understand what I'm saying to you? So this meeting here for me was quite disturbing, because it's almost like they were saying, well, listen, look, this is how it is. We've got all the royal houses. And let me tell you about the royal houses. And all you royal houses are listening. You are not Prophet Maduti royalty. And I'll tell you for why. We spent 400 years in wilderness and none of them ever come look for it. None of them ever come to try to free we. You understand me? I said to you, know? The ones that did died where we were. Yeah? Queen Nani of the Maroons. Bookman Duty. See? Not turn on them man there. Them are my king and queen. Because when they never say no shit for we. To come look for it, to come rescue it. But no one come lord it over the diaspora and them. After what we've been through for so many years, I'm not going to take too long because I want my other brothers them to comment. But let me leave you with this, just for this moment. We the Africans, the descendants of the kidnapped people, have a right to come back to Africa. And we have that right under the UN on the 6th region. We have that right. So nobody not gonna come and be no dictatorial over we after what we got through. No, it's not gonna happen. And no, somebody will come about them a queen of this. Me no, as old time people say, me not join them church there. You understand me I say? And so I'll let my other brothers come in and add their piece to it. But what was disturbing for me with that particular event, I felt there was too many non-Africans telling Africans or making statements of how Africa should move and things like that. And we are well and know there's more than enough competent Africans on the continent, Africated in knowledge, that could have presented any of those presentations.
Absolutely. Hotep, rise up. Thank you, brother Prophet Kwaku. Let me go over to Dr. Abu, who was also dipping in and out of that 4-day seminar. Dr. Abu.
Vudum family, you know.
Vudum.
Rise up to the prophet, you know. Brother Leo, rise up, you know. Sister Shanice. When I'm moving a setup, B to a different hive and thing like that, you always have to move the queen. You understand? And to what I see from these Arabs and these kidnapper them control a certain African woman, it reminds me of when them invade us. Them always kill we off and preserve the woman and condition them to come back. What I'm saying, I just see a political prostitute blood. You know, see, if a person want to persecute her for that, them been using these people them to undermine us. You understand? And come out with Queen of Sheba the third and all of them crap there. You know, I know, you know, these little biblical business. You understand? I now follow those narrative. You understand? You know, the other day we run down a man where we not even know nothing about Obama. All of a sudden them throw that pan you and we run with it. And them have all of these women them that they gear up and pushing away face like the Condoleezza Rice, and now them have come up with one called Harris. You understand? And all of these things, and here now them have come up with Queen of Sheba the third. Damn prostitute blood. And the white people them and them a pimper. You know, see, to kind of suck us in a certain way. You know, when you go and you look on the the Council on Foreign Relations and see that they were there, but they never there present. The Bilderberg group was there, but they never there present, because on all of the people that was at that conference, there was script. Every one of them script. What them present to us is pure entertainment. You understand? But it come in such a form that, so we don't understand the whole thing. We think, say, well, they might bring development. They ain't bringing development. You understand? They are entertaining us, keeping us passive for what they them really have in store. What we're seeing there is a bunch of consultants. And you know that when you have consultants amongst you, you never get rid of them, because them always bring more problem and more problem and more problem. We have to open our eyes. I am a child of the kidnapped people, and I am not following nothing that the kidnapper laid on table for us. I ain't following it. I'm not following them religion, and I'm not following these little prostitutes where they come put in front of us, and all of those pimp we are run behind them. Some people may say that we are insultive and all of this, but I don't give a monkey's blood. Them been doing it for us to eat for years. We want to be led by those that we choose. Nobody not choose nothing for us, blood. You know, see, they've been choosing for us for years, and we not get nowhere. You understand? Then give with Jesus, and we don't get nowhere. Now them are come with Queen of Sheba and all of these crap. And a lot of us gonna run for it. A lot of us gonna run for it. But I'm telling you, my mind is make up. I mean, I turn back, blood. I strictly voodoo me I deal with. My African spirituality. And none of them people there is not a part of it. None of them. None of the Arab there is a part of it. None of them Wazungu there is a part of it. And none of those so-called African elite, because this is what they use. You understand? These African people who think that like the sun shine out of white people's ass. You understand? I'm not in none of them. You understand? And I'll forever be an opposition to this thing. If my son is a part of it, he doesn't come back to my yard anymore. You understand? A full time we put the foot down and understand what we're up against. We up against the same set of people who scramble for Africa. They come in a different disguise. You understand? We up against these slave catchers. Most of those African where you see him sitting there, they are slave catchers, blood. As Prophet said, none of them never come look for us. Which one of them can look for us? I can see where we're there. I see where we are got you. And today they want to spread a table and I call us. This is what the Romans do in those days. They call it bread and circus. Bread and circus. You understand? And if our eye not open, you understand? You know, so then give a people like call Oprah. What Oprah do for black people? So that no work, then come with this Queen in Queen of Sheba the third. I hope the ancestor strike her bloody dead. Voodoo.
Voodoo. Boy. Yes, Dr. Abu now all about no chat there, so rise up.
No man now all about no man.
Sorry? Yeah, rise up, Dr. Abu. Yes, thank you for that contribution. Voodoo. Yes, it certainly felt like a new scramble for Africa. The name that you was looking for, Prophet Kwaku, there was the chairman, Kerry Golston. And
that's right.
Yeah, he seemed to be responsible for bringing all of those big businesses together. He knew all of them on first name terms. He seems to be maybe a sort of consultant who networks with big multi-million-pound businesses, and he brought them all together in this webinar to pitch Yeah, they're what they were considering to be what's in the interest of Africa. And I will be touching on some of the things, some of the types of business propositions that they were putting forward in a little while as well. But first, let's hear from our dear brother Leo Mohammed. He wasn't at the webinar, but I'm sure you can pick up, my brother, from what's been said already, what the plans are by those who don't look like us, don't like us, you know, are trying to put in place for a new scramble for Africa, a new methodology for controlling Africa and keeping Africa dependent on the technology that they have, but want to keep and not even, you know, share with, as they didn't do in the last technological age, share with us as Africans. What are your thoughts, my brother Leo, on what's been said so far? Okay, we're not hearing you. We're not hearing you, my brother Leo.
Apologies, I had my microphone on.
You're through
I
loud
had my microphone on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We're hearing you now.
Okay, yeah. I'm a little bit concerned about this. I am a little bit concerned about this microphone problem, this delay. It's quite off-putting when you're trying to get a point across, and it's clear that I can see sometimes by your faces that you're not quite in what I'm saying. But suffice to say, we'll do our best. But just to begin, you know, family, my main is to do with us as a people fulfilling a particular scripture that says we are easy to lead in the wrong direction, hard to lead in the right direction. We are the people of God. We are the people who populate all of the scriptures. And in particular, I want to quote one particular scripture, which is very, very important. And that scripture is from Genesis, chapter 15, verse 13, where Abraham, the one who is reputed to be the father of all of the monotheists, where God talks directly to Abraham and he says, Abraham, know for a surety that your seed, your offspring, will be a stranger among a strange for 400 years. They will serve them for 400 years. They will be afflicted for 400 years. They will be destroyed as a human reality for 400 years. At the end of that time, God talking, I will come and I will judge that people, that nation, which they shall serve. Ultimately, my people, the original people, us, black people, will come out having great substance. Beloved family, there is no people on this planet who fulfill that scripture, because this is not talking about some historical thing. This is talking about today. We are the only people on the planet that fulfill that scripture. And we are the people who must be returned to our own. And that return to our own is not just talking about a physical return to Africa. It's talking about a return to our own human self, our own reality as a spiritual, powerful, beautiful people. And the key component is what we've been talking about for several weeks, which is a unity, which is our protection against the machinations of these wicked, whether we want to call them Illuminati, whether we want to call them secret organizations or fraternities, or these so-called elite families which currently run the planet. Sister, you know, whether it's Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of Amazon, Bill Gates, who is the CEO of Microsoft, Mark Zuckerberg, who is the CEO of Facebook, the reality is that all of these elements have a particular agenda which is aimed directly at us who are original people, black people, in the diaspora and also in Africa.
That's right.
This Queen of Sheba, whoever she is a plant.
That's right.
She is once again one element within our own ranks who is now to be used in this so-called fourth industrial revolution to once again trick and fool and hoodwink black people into being led in the wrong direction and not in the right direction, which is returning onto our own and becoming the powerhouse on this planet that we are supposed to be. I really liked the question that Brother Kwaku asked in relation to a reset. Because if it is a reset, and it certainly isn't a reset, the only one who can reset the process, life as we know, is the creator of the heavens and the earth, original ancestor, to use that terminology, because you don't really hear me talk too much about ancestors, but I know that the original ancestor from when all of the ancestors come is the creator of the heavens and the earth, because we have a relationship with him. We have a relationship with that power. We are direct descendants. Look, family, you know, there was this Tuskegee experiment that took place. And at the time, Tuskegee experiment, when they infected over 400 black men in Alabama with the most virulent form of syphilis, and then left those men to cohabit with their partners and to live out their lives suffering from this incurable disease, to see how it would manifest within the black psyche, within the black gene pool, within the black body, and see how syphilis would manifest itself among us. They used a black woman, the nurse who is the main coordinator of the syphilis injections, to convince those men to take these treatments, thinking that they were actually being treated and that they were actually being helped in some way, when in reality they were being coordinated to be infected with syphilis and then to be monitored and experimented on until they passed away. This sister's name was Eunice Verdell Rivers Laurie. And this is the sister that they used. And understand this, beloved family. We live in a time that is no different to history. And whenever they intend to destroy a people, especially a cowardly people like Caucasians are, because you need to understand that Caucasian people are natural born killers, but they're also natural born cowards. And they will never, ever attempt to fight the black man face to face. They always, when they fight with us, they fight via techniques called stealth. And they will employ people from within our ranks in order to facilitate our destruction. They don't fight fair. And they always have agents in and among us as a people that they will use in order to facilitate the destruction of the target group, i.e. black people, i.e. Africans. And today is no different. And so whoever this so-called Queen of Sheba is, and all the rest of them, she is a vehicle to be used to infiltrate into the black psyche, into the black community, many of whom are so desperate for this title of royalty and so on and so forth, that we will accept any old thing that's foisted on us to believe now that, okay, now we've got royalty, and look, they're actually accepted by white people. Come on, beloved family. We're royalty sitting here right now.
That's right.
We don't need no manufactured royal family to be given to us. as Brother Kwaku already said, and Brother Abu echoed, we know our royal family. We know those people because they're the ones who fought, bled, and died in order that you and I could be here today. They've proved their royal credentials by their sacrifices, that they gave up their lives in order for you and I to be able to deal with what we're dealing with today. So we don't need no people to materialize all of a sudden. There's a scripture that deals with them, these Johnny come latelys, and it says, many will come in my name, many prophets, many who will spring up in the end times to claim leadership of a people. And I think it was Brother Abu who said it. There's many of our people who are going to run, go and follow them, beloved, because we're foolish people. We've been made foolish, and we refuse to study and to become knowledgeable about the time and what must be done. So I won't go much further, my dear sister, except to say that this so-called, fourth industrial revolution does involve the cashless society that they could bring in, does involve artificial intelligence. In fact, Jeff Bezos the other day, the CEO of Amazon, he was in the news the other day now, where there's this device into the brain of a pig. And what they were showing is how they can control the pig via this device, this artificial device implanted into the brain of a pig. And these are the things that they are now working on. And part of the drive or push towards this COVID-19 patient is because they've now the type of devices that they can now insert into a human being to degree that the device can now be in the syringe, in the needle itself, and it's microscopic, so it cannot be detected by the human eye. But this nanotechnology that they now are using, they can insert this via injection, via the so-called vaccination, on the skin of the human being, into the brain of the human being, into the body of the human being. They can begin to manipulate your mood. They can do all manner of things through these processes. They may even be able to push a button one day and kill you if you have these types of injections where they insert this nanotechnology into your bloodstream. So this is where the enemy is heading.
Yes, so we see the direction. We see the direction.
He's an unalike. He is not a natural, original human being like us. And so his thrust, his leaning is always toward automation. That's what the Terminator movies was all about. And Terminator was written by a black woman, and it was stolen by those in Hollywood and produced as something that they produced. But a black woman who wrote the Terminator, she knew what she was writing about, and she was trying to send a message to us about what was coming, intended to automate this, which is another word for how they intend to use it, and the rise of the machines, and that they intend to build this automated world where all humanity is removed. And it's the computer says no. So now you think you're dealing with human beings. You're not dealing with human beings. You're dealing with machines. And in terms of robotics, they're military now. Everything is being robotized so that in the future, it will be robots who will be fighting their wars and no longer, biological soldiers and such. And so this is their dream of a reset, their dream of a new world order. But fortunately for us, there is a God on scene, and the God is real, and the God is a black man, and the God has technology that makes all of their technology pale into insignificance. That's the beauty. That's why I remain optimistic and strong in my attitude in life, because I know that there's something greater than what the devil is currently planning for our demise. Thank you.
Rise up, Brother Leo. Ashe, Ashe. Thank you so much. I mean, you took that direction of travel, and you know, it's really interesting actually how you took us on the journey to, for me, really, I think hit home where, you know, the Europeans are going with this agenda. It's going to, before we know it, if we allow them to come into Africa with all of their AI technology, they would have created an artificial army, you know, of robots on the continent of Africa that they can control to kill and destroy us as a people, which means that they won't even have to be fighting toe to toe, as they say, the Africans, because they know that we outnumber them. You know, I don't know how many thousands it is to one, but we outnumber them globally. So they know that they've got, you know, that what we do know is that for thousands of years, they've been wiping us off of the face of the earth. As I often remind our people, from the day they crawled out of the cave, they have been on a mission to kill and destroy. And their trail of destruction is evident throughout history. It is there for all to see. How did they get Australia? Who were the people, the original people of Australia that they murdered in their millions so they could take off over that land? Who were the people, you know, of Canada, the original people of Canada that they removed from that land, you know, through genocide? Same with Australia, America, Europe, New Zealand, you know, trail of destruction everywhere that they have been, and they haven't stopped trying to wipe us off of the face of the earth. I think they slowed down a little bit during the 500 years of their enslavement, because they realized that they needed us for human labor. That's the only reason I think why they slowed down during that period. But they're continuing again. And my brother, you mentioned the syphilis, the syphilis, what would they call it? Experiment. Thank you. That they did in America. But I found out that there was also an earlier one. Now, here it is here. Between 1946 and 1948, the United States conducted human experiments in Guatemala as part of their STD treatment research. Physician John Charles Cutler infected 1,308 people who were between the ages of 10 to 72 with syphilis, gonorrhea, and pancreas, something like that, without their informed consent. Only 678 of the people received treatment, and that was an experimental treatment, while the rest suffered. The experiment claimed 83 lives. You know, almost every day we're learning about and we're hearing about how they've been using us for their experiments, all sorts of medical experiments. And now they want to come to Africa, and now they want to come to Jamaica with their experimental COVID. Really? Anyway, let me go over very briefly. Actually, I'll go over very briefly, and I'll just highlight some of the presentations that were delivered at that event, so that our family can get a kind of feel for, you know, what the plans are that they want to be coming into Africa with and what to do. We've also got a number of questions in the chat, so I will pull out some of the questions in the chat and I'll put it to members of the panel, and I'll put a time of a maximum of about 10 minutes, if it needs 10 minutes, to comment on some of the questions that's been asked, because we're already 1 hour and 3 minutes into our panel discussion here. The time just always seems to fly by so quickly. So this Industrial Revolution conference that happened happened, you know, where, you know, for me as well, as you were saying, Prophet Kwaku and Dr. Abu, the Queen, oh my gosh, she was so entertained by these Europeans. She was beside herself. She knew them all on a personal basis. She knew their names, you know, and after every presentation, she was like, oh, I can't wait to be working with you. I'm looking forward to you coming into Africa. She seemed to be the gateway. She seemed to be the one who was going to be opening the doors for all of these corporations and new businesses to come into Africa, you know. And again, and remember, when these outside businesses and organizations set themselves up in Africa, the money that they earn stays in their company. It goes into their banks, and from their banks, it's counted on their country's stock exchange. So if it's a Canadian country, the money will go into their Canadian banks, and it counts towards the wealth of Canada on the Canadian stock exchange. The few jobs that they may actually give to Africans will be the low-paid jobs. And if they're talking about automation and the revolutionary technology, there are going to be even fewer jobs than they were able to offer the Africans, people on the continent under the last industrial revolution, the so-called technological revolution, which didn't even really come to Africa. You know, it was the people of Africa that had to develop that technology for themselves. And so, for example, when I was down in Africa, I was using, for example, my mobile phone for my financial transactions, which was quite cutting edge. You know, now, you know, that was because, you know, cash wasn't circulating as freely as it does in other countries. So they, you know, and the plastic, you know, wasn't working as well. But we had phone technology, which was a real advancement, and that actually worked really well for Africa. So Africa's needs is different from Europe. Phone technology isn't in operation over here. We use the plastics and we used to use the paper, which is also going out now. So our needs are unique. But what these businesses were proposing to do was to impose, you know, their ideas on what they thought was good for Africa without even consulting the people. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the businesses. So there was a presentation, for example, from a company that they were looking at the global world situation regarding water. And they came up with this graph to suggest that water was going to be a scarcity in the future. And, you know, we're going to have to be, you know, drilling for water. And their company was a water drilling company. And they had some images of these drills that look like when they're drilling for oil. And they were saying how they could be using these drills to explore for water. And they wanted to come into Africa and were offering to come into Africa to help Africa do these exploration for waters, because the farmers are going to need it for agriculture, the corporations are going to need it. There was no regard at all, you know, for the fact that over $100 million, £100 million actually, almost £100 million had been raised in 2018 via water aid to do water drilling and to bring water to villages in Africa. And despite all of that money that had been given to water aid, you know, by way of donation, you know, the people of the world pour their hearts out to these aid agencies when they see the images of people having to walk for water. And they had collected almost 100 million. And yet still today, there are very few villages that they have managed to put any water supply in. Well, here comes another company, but this one is a business. And when they come in as businesses, yeah, who do you think they're looking to finance these businesses? They're not coming with all of the money. They're looking to get contracts from the African governments, money from the African governments, money that the African governments don't have. Well, they'll put such a fantastic pitch. Those African governments will go and borrow money from the World Bank and those other agencies so that they can finance these companies, putting Africa in debt to finance these global white companies. Well, this, how can you even begin to think about putting your country's water supply in the hands of a foreign nation? your former colonizers, the ones who have been committing genocide across the face of the earth, the ones who are using the Africans for their experiments. How can you even consider allowing them to come into your country and drill for water and have access to your population's water supply? Absolute madness. But the Queen was like, "Oh, I can't wait for you to come into Africa and to work with you." Really? Well, I commented about that as well, and they didn't like those comments, but it had to be said. There were companies pitching. There were also humanitarian companies that was pitching as well. There was one that was pitching for contracts to deal with waste management, to clean up all of the oil spills, and the destruction to the land in Africa as a result of these mining corporations who were going out and digging for oil and everything else, and just destroying the landscape, ruining, the farming community, the fishing community, polluting the waters, making, the environment where people used to live and farm almost uninhabitable. They know that their corporations are out there causing this mess. Well, instead of getting the corporations to clean up the mess, we had a humanitarian company that was pitching, to get money to go and do that. So you got the left hand, you're making huge amounts of profits from drilling for oil and mining and causing a massive destruction on the land. And then on the right hand, you want to have another company that sets themselves up as a humanitarian company, which is the charity arm of the same company, getting paid from a different source by the government to go and clean up the mess that their parent company caused. This was the sort of madness that was being proposed. And, there was this woman called Barbara Wiseman. She was from the Earth Organization, and she was, claiming to be this humanitarian organization that wanted to go out, and help Africa to solve the problems. Its problems caused by those same conglomerates that are out there drilling for oil and gas. And she was recognizing and showing images of all the destruction that's been caused, but they never talk about the source, and who's really causing those chemical spills and those endless problems that Africa is left with whilst these companies are out there doing all of their dirty works. But we could see from the presentations that if there was an oil spill in Canada, it was well cleaned up. If there were oil spills in America, it was well cleaned up. They have the chemicals to clean up the environment after these spills, but they're not using it. Those companies should be duty bound to clean up the environment and the mess that they cause. But no, they want the government to pay a separate arm of their company so that they will use the chemicals to do the cleaning up. Absolutely awful. And there were other people who were commenting about the destruction that these organizations make on African land. And basically we were being shut down. We were being shut down every time we made these sorts of comments. We were told that our comments are negative. We were told that, we're not working with them towards the solutions. We were being told that these people are offering us, their new technological advanced services, and we should basically be grateful. And so they went on, and we were trying to remind we were trying to tell the African kings and the dignitaries that these are the same people that were causing the destruction. How can you trust your former colonizers? You're just surely, you could be opening up the door again for Africa to be recolonized. They didn't want to hear any of that. We had a brother from South Africa, Brother Rutenjo, who made some comments as well. And also there was a presentation from a company that wanted to come and basically take over Africa's agriculture. And they were coming with new technological ways of doing agriculture, which involved chemical farming. They were talking about injecting the animals so that they would be free from diseases. Really? But what would they be injecting in those animals? And if we eat those animals after the injections, what would it do to us as humans? And there's so many more of these companies. But let me take a little break there and go around the room, because Dr. Abu, you heard some of these presentations. Prophet Quaker, you heard some of these presentations. Do you want to comment, Dr. Abu, on any particular presentation that stood out for you that maybe you were also concerned about?
The water.
Right.
people, black people may are complaining about our water. You know, with 70% water, ain't it?
Right.
And on the planet, 70% water, isn't it? So the
True.
best with the water.
75%. Yes.
Yeah. So how are we here fretting about water because what don't go fret about water?
Yes.
You understand? You know, you see, these are the things. My sis, have you ever read the book of Job? Have you ever read it? Have any one of you ever read the book of Job? J-O-B?
No.
No, I know, no, you may call it Job. You may call it Job. And it's a bunch of damn idiot. J-O-B is Job, it's not Job. You go about the job office. J-O-B. When they give it to black people is Job. And see what God do to Job. This is what the white people do to African. What God done to Job is what white people do to African people. Because the Bible is white people intention. Leo talk about Abraham. Abraham did have inside a deal with him white counterpart and knows 400 years them ago have a hold down for. You understand? It's all part of it. This whole, you name me, one of these religious groups that ever can look for it to even rescue it. They all a part of it, blood. They all a part of what going on with this Queen of Shebha too. You understand? And if we don't be careful, and start to do certain things, how can we here fret about water? All we have to do is use the technology that we have and even turn some of that seawater into drinking water. Get off to do it. You understand?
That's right.
These are the kind of threats that we follow these little people and narrative and with their fret or this or that. Listen, let me tell you, I'm not fret about them AI and A this and A that. Because nature is the only force out there. All the other rest of force them out there is synthetic. Them have to go create bomb to roll like thunder and all of these things, electricity to gash like lightning and all of them things there. We have that. And all we have to do is in tune to nature and in tune to the creator. That's all we have to need to do and figure all of them. I'm telling you, you know, see what happened? Our people is on their knee to white people. East, west, north, and south. I saw them have them. And we can call it where we want to call it. But as I said, go back and read the book of Job. And you will see what white people do to African people. Voodoo.
Voodoo, rise up, Dr. Abu. And, you know, I've been to various parts of Africa, and what I have found is that you dig a certain number of meters down and there's water. You know, the African countries, they have the water table for their countries. They know whether water is 10 meters in this area, 6 meters down in that area, 20 meters down in that area. There's water underneath the land. But you see what these people do, they come and they present such a fantastic kind of fear story. The whole world's going to be low on water, where water's going to be a scarcity. We need to come in and run water pipe. Really? The other questions we were asking. So if you're going to be running water pipes in Africa, who's going to be responsible for the water? Will the people have to then start paying for the water? Will the water be metered? You see how these people stay. Next thing you find out, your water is in the hands of a private company. You see, they don't reveal the whole picture all at once. This is what they do, little by little. Thank you for the comments that are coming in as well. And yeah, that one just said there, the boss man was saying there's plenty of water in Africa. Yes, there is indeed. Brother Kwaku, do you want to comment on any of the questions that have been coming up in the group?
You know, Sister Shanice, the prophet Marcus Garvey said to us, organize or perish. You know, but we are a spiritual people. You know, Brother Leo, that's his thing. He likes to tap in on the spiritual and that type of stuff. And we are. And those of us who's been sent here to be the custodians of the memories of our people, them can't hide nothing from we. Because we all knew about that event, probably the same time in that same week. And they've been planning this event for months, maybe even a year. You understand what I'm saying? I hear the stuff about water. I watched a documentary about water probably about 2 decades ago. The same thing they were saying. For me, the issue is not water, not nanotechnology, not any of those technological advancement, because we're using that technological advancement now. In one of the posts that I put, I said, how rich, and I'm paraphrasing what I said how rich is it that you got these Europeans telling us about satellites, but did you know about Gladys Knight, Gladys West? You're talking about the very internet system we're using, but you have made, there's no mention of Philip Emeagwali, yeah, or Mark Dean of IBM. These are African people that are instrumental in the functioning of the apparatus that we're using now. You see, because when you, they say a picture paints 1,000 words. So if the narrative is most Europeans and Arabs that's presenting technological knowledge, it gives the impression that we ourselves can't do it. The name that you was looking for, Brother Leah, was Sophia Stewart. Yeah, the woman with the Matrix and all them thing, and was the Matrix and Terminator. Sophia Stewart. Remember the name? See?
Terminator.
And so,
Terminator.
Yeah. And so, what we have to realize as Africans, that now that we've seen this, we've got to start organizing to counteract what they're going to do. Leo said about the 400 years of suffering, but that's what they said. The Hebrews spent 400 years in Kemet and came out. So which 400 years are we talking about? Really? That to me don't matter. What matters is that we are the chosen people. We are the first people. We are the earthlings that the other aliens has come to destroy. And they would try to destroy us and steal our resources by any means necessary, and then portray themselves as these civilized people. Look, you know the thing that annoyed me about that thing there? We had Europeans that was living in Zimbabwe, living in South Africa, talking about Africa like Africa is theirs. You know, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And in Africa, the descendants of the murderers, the descendants of the pillagers, and this queen wanted to breeze over it. She actually said, oh, we can't live in the past, we got to go forward. We can't blame the descendants of the people that commit the crime.
She said, forget the past. She said, forget the past. We forget our history. Really? I said, tell the Jews to forget their history. I got kicked out. Sorry, Brother Kwaku. Continue.
Yeah, she said, what she said was that you cannot blame the descendants of the people that committed a crime in the past. Because those people that committed the crime in the past, these people have now were the descendants, they were the poor people of those people. It's nonsense. They benefit. They benefit from the stealing and the raping and the continue. And this is what we must remember. This is the Mangamese. It's the continued raping and pillaging of Africa. They had the Arabs there. Remember, you know, they had the Arab, was it the African Arab Council and something called Alliance for the Advancement. Invaders that are there that is massacred millions of Africans and sits on the soil of Africa and talking that they're part of the Middle East. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So the Arabs, they have reparations for deal with. and so does the Europeans. Reparations wasn't a big thing on that summit. It's almost like she was trying to say, forget about that. You understand me?
She said it.
Yeah. And she went on to say, we were too busy fighting each other, killing each other, when we should have been working together, almost blaming us for our own demise. And so I texted and I said, I suggest to the Queen and everybody's listening to read The Destruction of the Black Civilization and to study the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885. Because Africans never just end up the way they end up, just like that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to take too long because I want my other brothers them to comment. I just want to keep it short. But I'm just making the point that what disturbed me was the people them who still robbing Africa. Yeah, remember, you know, them kill off Gaddafi, you know. And when them kill off Gaddafi, you know, they must sell Africans and slave and slave ducks in Libya today. No yesterday, tomorrow, today. I mean, there's no world atrocity about it. Them want to invade and stop it. Same Arab them. You understand? If you are true and you're dealing with truth, then own up to that truth. And then maybe we can sit down and say, all right, then we can have a chat because you're admitting, my ancestors have done wrong. This is why your people's in this condition. What can we do to change that? What can we do? Tell us. We're not going to tell you. We're here. What can we do to correct that wrong? You understand me? And then you're talking about humanity then. But none of them ain't talking that. Not the Arabs, not the Europeans, not any of them. And they will always use somebody that looks like us to destabilize us. Otep.
Otep, rise up as always, Prophet Kwaku. Quite a few questions coming up in the chat. Brother Leo, would you like me to give you a question from the chat, or are there any particular comments that you want to make on what's been said already?
Entirely up to you, sister. I will follow your lead, whatever direction you wish to go in.
Okay, let me just pick one out here. What's this one say? Africa does not need delusional, confused Western blacks and their colonizers following them. That's from Jarena Star, Rise Up. I'll continue until you find one that you want to rise up. Colin Bell says, we need to, and as a group, write to the so-called leaders and wake them up. We must also wake up our contacts, at least 3 each, to make a movement, but they are not sleeping. How do we wake them up? How do we wake up our people? Brother Colin is asking.
You wanna chat? You wanna answer that, Leo?
Yes, I'm asking Brother Leo, please.
Is that a question? Okay, well, you know,
yes.
I often hear people saying, and I think even something a minute ago in the chat saying how we should be helping Africa. But you see, in order for you to be a helper of another, you first and foremost must help yourself. If we ourselves are helpless, how are we to help Africa? When Africa, as a continent, the people there, they have the land. They don't own it. This is the reality. The reality is that the masses of the people in Africa today don't own the land. They don't control the land because most of the leaders are in the pockets of those in Westminster, in the pockets of those in Washington, Paris, Milan, and these European capitals. These countries are controlled, remotely controlled from outside because of the various policies left over from the colonial era that those so-called leaders are still following. Every real leader that was ever produced on the continent of Africa was targeted, assassinated, expelled, and all manner of evil was done to eliminate them And the ones that we have in place today are mostly today handpicked by our open enemies. So this is the problem. And so before we can reach out and even help, we've got to first help ourselves. We have to become a power block as Africans in the diaspora. So we have to unite together as Africans outside of Africa. But right now we're in that. Right now everybody's trying to fight their own corner and trying to, in fact, fight against one another, trying to prove some points about who's based or who's right and who's wrong and who's following the right type of philosophy, etc., etc. And you know, that's like a big game that we all play. And so until we first and foremost help ourselves by uniting, recognizing our commonality, recognizing that we are one family wherever we are, and whatever faith system we sign up to, can we find the least common denominator, which is our blackness, our humanity, and come together on that basis in order for us to become a power base, so that then we can begin to the systems where we are and begin to influence. Because whether we appreciate it or not, many of the masses of our people on the continent are they're looking to see what are we doing. They observe us, especially those of us here in the UK. They are able to see us. They can see what we're doing and whether or not we're making progress. Many of Africans on the continent, they were listening to Bob Marley during the revolutionary times when trying to get independence. They were listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It was Winnie Mandela who said that they used to listen to the minister's tapes during the height of apartheid, and that would keep them inspired and keep them, when Mandela was locked up, these are the things that kept Winnie and her family going, because they felt inspired that there were others on the outside who were doing stuff. It was Yahya in the Gambia who said that he used to listen to the tapes of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to inspire himself when he was one of those striving to gain power on the continent of Africa. And so, yes, we can help our brothers and sisters on the continent, but first and foremost, we've got to help ourselves. We have to put ourselves into a position of strength where we become a power block outside in order to then leverage some type of influence on the powers that be here, and then we can begin to inspire our people back on the continent. And of course, those of us who want to leave here altogether physically and repatriate to Africa, that's another way to do it, because we can go back. There are people right now who have gone back, who are now purchasing small plots of land and trying to influence the continent, way of saying, you know, on the stuff that we've been in our sojourn, in that we can now go back, having learned, lived among the Wazungu, lived among the devil, that we know him more intimately than many of our people on the continent who've had experience of him, but not in that many of us here in the West know him. So we can teach our people a lot of things that they don't yet know about the devil, even though they were colonized for all of that time period by the devil. He kept them in townships and in ghettoized systems whilst he lived in high-rise luxury on the continent of Africa. And that remains the case today. And there's all the Confessions of an Economic Hitman by a man named John Perkins, who's one of these, who was CIA and NSA and these types of organizations. And when you study Confessions of an Economic Hitman, you see how these people work, and they're still doing the same things today, where they go into these African nations, they offer them these massive loans from the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank or whatever, and these other international banking houses, which are all controlled by these banking families, whether it's the Rothschilds and the Windsors, because they're all part of the same system of corruption and greed and wicked influence. These people, they lend the country these loans, knowing that the country is not going to be able to pay the loan back, that they will default on the loan because of the exorbitant interests that are attached to these loans. And then when the country defaults, They then come in and they compromise the sovereignty of the country, and they basically take over elements of the infrastructure. They dictate to the president or the prime minister, who already is a puppet. They dictate what they should do with crops, and they have to grow these exports for other nations, whatever. They can't feed their own people. They dictate how many schools they can have, what kind of infrastructure they can have within their systems, and so on and so forth. And I know Gaddafi has been mentioned, but you know, while Gaddafi lived, many of the Africans, they rejected Gaddafi. But Gaddafi was a warrior for Africa. Gaddafi is the one who stopped Africans through European satellite, putting up the first African black satellite, and took out over $500 million out of the pockets of the Europeans. They hated Gaddafi for that. Gaddafi was planning international banks for Africans. Gaddafi was planning an African currency, a dinar, backed up by gold, not this fiat money, this fake money that they use in the West. Gaddafi was the one who brought water up from the desert and made Libya green. Gaddafi was doing all of these, and while Gaddafi was there, he was preventing Europeans from coming in and recolonizing Africa. And many of the African leaders, they rejected Gaddafi's leadership because, oh, this was an Arab. But this was an Arab who loved, honored, and respected black people, and he predicted that the black man was going to be the future ruler of the planet. And many of the Arabs hated Gaddafi for his pronouncements about Africa. And so, yes, you know, we need these types of leaders, these uncompromising, fearless leaders. And when they do it, we should back them. But unfortunately, what happened historically is that when we've had such people, we haven't backed them. We've sided with the enemy to destroy them. And when they're gone, it's only then we realize, oh my God, you know, now Obama came in, and Obama is the one who's opened the way now for AFRICOM and the military to be all over Africa, American military bases going up left, right, and center, and now also Chinese military bases. And understand this, beloved, what's happening? There is a new scramble for Africa, because Africa still is the place which has in it, in the soil of Africa, all of the minerals, all of the resources that will power this new artificial intelligent future that called age. All of what's needed to make it a reality is found. So therefore, part of the purpose of is to once again, but now in a very, very stealthy way, using companies like Monsanto with these new genetically modified foods, contaminating the food stuff, having Africans importing food and poisoning them and killing them off as a reality. This is what's going on, because the idea is that and the Chinese and the Americans are battling over who will control Africa. But there's a war going on right now for Africa, and most of the Africans don't even know what's taking place.
That's right. Rise up, my brother. That is so true. Got a comment in the chat here actually about Gaddafi, and I must say it does kind of echo my sentiments. It says that Gaddafi was an Arab seeking Arab power. Why can't any native African do this with all the wealth they have? So, you know, I heard the talk that Gaddafi was talking, but I also recognize the fact that, you know, the northern part of Africa has already been taken over for the Arabs, and there is, you know, that Arab advance through their religion that they're trying to come with throughout Africa. So you've got the Christians in the south trying to move south, you know, towards the north to capture Africa for the European powers, and then you've got the Arabs in the north that are trying to advance and come through Africa with their movement. So we do also need to be mindful of how, you know, they will use religion, and how they will use, you know, their narrative, which will sound, you know, appealing to us, to further their own objectives. So we do need to also be very careful, and I think skeptical as well about some of these people who are supposedly, you know, speaking on our behalf and acting on our behalf. We need to, as a people, in my opinion, start doing for self. Let me just.
Could I just make a quick comment on that, sister?
Because we are 20 minutes to the top of the hour, so 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's just to say, sister, that, you know, Libya is not Arab. Libya is African. All of the so-called north part of Africa, it's all African. We're all Africans, and many of those light-skinned Arabs, they're Africans, and many of these come from us, producers of all of them.
Brother Leo, with due respect, they don't call themselves African.
Yeah.
People in Mauritania, they don't do that. They're part of the Middle East.
Brother,
I will not accept that, beloved.
Yeah.
Let me just finish my point. Let me just finish my point, brother.
Right, one
Let me just finish my point, please.
Go ahead, and then we're going to move on. Yeah.
Gaddafi, in everything, he identified himself as an African, not an Arab. Yes. The Arabs hated him. That's why in all of his tunics, you would see he would have the African outline of Africa, because he saw himself as an African with Africans united with
the
Arabs, the light-skinned Arabs hated it.
I've got to make a comment on this.
Let's understand.
Yes, please, Brother Leo. Yeah, Brother Leo.
They're blacker than me. Many of you who identify as Arabs, they're blacker than me.
Yeah, yes, they see themselves as Arabs. It's really interesting, actually, Brother Leo. Sorry to cut you there, but maybe this is a conversation that we can have in more detail as part of an agenda. But just to share with you that one of the presenters at the Fourth Revolution meeting, a European who was in the British Army for about 10 years, fought in the British Army, and he was doing a presentation. I can't remember what his presentation was about now. Someone might remember what his presentation was on, but he was seeking to do big business in Africa as well. When he gave his background, he said, he talked about his role in the military. And I think it was to do with agriculture, and it was our brother Rutendo who said, you know, why should we be looking to you as a European? You know, it was people of your hue that caused the destruction of Africa. Why should we be looking to you? Hear what he said. I am an African. I was born here and I live here and I am an African. That's what this European said, because, you know, they know the riches of the land. So, of course, they're going to try and claim some of the land. You know what I'm saying? The man is a European. Try telling the Europeans here that we live in Europe, so we're Europeans. You know, they would laugh us all the way back to Africa. So
that's the same thing they said to us when we went to Zimbabwe.
Sister Shanice.
That's the same thing the white farmers to us.
Yes.
Visited Zimbabwe. He's an African.
Yes, right. So they're all claiming to be Africans because what they're really claiming is African land, and that they're trying to claim an entitlement to the land. That's because they know the riches of the land, and they're there to exploit it. And while they're there as well, they're
not claiming kingship of the Africans.
No, not at all.
The land. That's
not at all. And as they did before, they will grow in their numbers, and they will reduce our numbers through poisoning and etc. Brother Kwaku, my apologies. I know you've been trying to come in. Let me bring you in. Then I'll bring in Dr. Abu, and then I'll see if I can get in another question. What's the time? We are 15 minutes.
I don't know if my elder is my elder. You know, Dr. Abu is my elder. So I don't know if he wanted to address something. If so, I'll give way to the elder.
He's giving way to you.
Okay. The question was asked: what can we do to change things? Yeah.
Good question.
And the first thing we have to do, we have to start Africating the children. We have to start telling our children the story of how they arrived where they are, what they went through, and what the plan was to eliminate us. We don't do that. We send our children to these people's schools so them can get degree and all kind of degree, and they know nothing about who they are. The key to the destruction of the chains that we have on our minds is the knowledge of self. We have to give that. And we have to do that in Africa too. Because the people in Africa don't even know about, enough of them don't even know about themselves, because it's belly politics. People just need to get, pay them, and it's the same here. So the first thing that we have to do is Africate ourselves. We have to tell the stories. We mustn't be shy about it, and we must tell the truth. And when the truth presents itself, as painful as it may be, we must hold on upon it. These Arabs and these Europeans that occupy Africa are not our friends.
That's right.
Was never our. We befriended them, We made them come. Yeah, man, we have that, man. We can't share that with you. But sharing was never on their minds.
True.
You understand what I'm saying? And we adopted their foreign doctrines and we regurgitate it word for word, giving it life. When you speak something, when you embody something, you give it life. The God in you, the creating force of you, the Asar in you gives it life. So for every time we hold on to their doctrines and preach it, we give it life. What we need to start doing is give life to our own doctrines. We've got the papers, we got the books, we got the scrolls. It's written on the pyramids. It's written in the temples. We know the thing. We must just be strong enough to say, you know what? Boy, I'm gonna deal with this thing up. I'm gonna realize it's like, hey, me grew up in the church, Every week me have to learn my golden text, and come recite it back in Sunday school. It was the thing that prevented me from engaging and wrapping up in certain things when I was on the road. Not that I was innocent of certain things, but what it did, it allowed me to pull away. But when I start to read and study from the youth man of 28 years old, me and my brethren them, and start read certain book and dissect certain things. And I used to listen to the tapes of Malcolm X, Dr. Ben, Dr. Shaka Musa Barashango, Dr. Clark, even Minister Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. I listened to them all. But I found the truth. And the truth has set me free. So that's why I can speak with authority from the ancestors that we must adhere to our own practices, promote it, internalize it, and make it popular. That way, we will free ourselves from the bondage of our enemies. And I must be honest, the last day the Queen said, when a particular person was doing a presentation and talking about bringing all this business into Africa and things, she said, stop. She said one thing, and this is what she said. She said, yes, we want the business to come Africa, but we don't want the business to leave Africa, where the business comes in and only 5% of it stay in Africa, 95% of it leaves. She goes, no, 95% of it must stay in Africa. She said that.
Yeah,
now, whether that was because of the continuous texts from yourself and other people and me, it doesn't matter. But what that showed is that when we unify and put pressure on these people who claim to represent us, they have no alternative but to bend. Okay.
Hotep, rise up, rise up. Family, if you haven't clicked that like button, please do. If you haven't subscribed, also please do as well. We are so close to the top of the hour. Let me bring in, though, before we wind up, Dr. Abu.
Vudum family. Vudum.
Vudum.
If we don't take hold of ourselves, we'll be here the next 20 years, 30 years talking about the same thing.
True talk.
For over 400 years, we are run with things where other people give to us.
Mm-hmm.
We come here right now where they even give us a damn prostitute called Queen. Because it's a prostitute, it's don't got damn prostitute know all the punter name.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? We have to be real higher. They've been giving us all of these things and we just run with it and we don't realize. Why don't we? That's why I asked the question. I will ask the question Sunday on my program. Name me one of these religions that bring any victory to our people or any comfort to them in a certain way. Not bloody one of them. And I don't care what certain people want to say. I am a child of the kidnapped people. You understand? That was abused by all of them. From Hebrew, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, we all abused by these people. The Arabs take a man them cross the other side and cut with the calf.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So we have to be real higher. I am into my African spirituality. If I make my mistake, make me sit down and correct it. I not wait for nobody to correct my mistake. I will never do that. You understand? These things have been beaten into us. That's why we can sit here and talk about this damn Queen of Sheba. Because we have a certain narrative with them plant in our head. You know, see, our problem right now is the Solomonic dynasty that is not African. And the Abrahamic thing that is not African, that is causing a lot of conflict. Because we're going to Africa now. You know, and I don't want nobody to come tell me about the white man is no devil. The white man is Jesus. Because I don't see nothing where the devil tell me if I go kill nobody. I don't see it. You show me where the devil tell me if I go kill nobody. Or God tell me if I go kill that one, they go rob the one, they go do them thing there. So I don't follow white people narrative. You understand? I follow my own mind. I follow the way of my ancestor. And if we don't know it, go and pour some libation at me and wash our way. Because right now we give up even the principle of water and now we're washing other people's blood. Are we crazy? Are we crazy, my people? Every bird that comes on this planet, water break. You understand? You know? But we don't want that. We want to wash into the blood of other people. I don't care what nobody want to say, you know? My mother that gone to the ancestor, I sit in front of her and tell her that I'm not into Jesus and all of them things. So she gone to her grave now that her son tell her where they stand. And if a lot of us did brave enough and honest enough because we want to get like a property and depend on the will. We tell so many lies. We even put on one damn brothers and sisters because we want to get at the on the will of our parents in their ignorance. Vodum aya. Vodum.
Vodum.
Vodum mean the true spirit always present. And I will go on from Vodum until the day I leave this planet. Vodum.
Ashe, rise up, Dr. Abu. So just quickly going back to some of the presentations that happened in the event so that listeners could get an idea of the scope really of the businesses that were looking to come into Africa. So, you know, this particular individual, for example, Nick Snaith was his name. He's the one that served 10 years in the British Army. He was talking about bringing agricultural techniques into Africa without the use of fertilizer and biochemicals, he was saying, but he was looking for 200,000 hectares of land over 6 years. 200,000 hectares of land. There was another presentation that was talking about cattle farming, and it was talking about them rounding up all of the commercial and small subsistence farmers in Africa so they could basically control them and so-called give them better genetics so that they're stock can grow faster, and they were talking about implementing disease controls as well to protect them from disease. I think they need to protect the cows and the pigs over here from foot and mouth disease and mad cow disease and chikungunya disease and all the other disease than where their animals have over here. But no, they want to go to Africa and bring all of these technologies. So that's farming, that's water, that's the animals, and all the cattle ranging.
And there was remember they was talking about that current setting up a new currency as well. You remember?
I missed that one because
they were talking about setting. They were talking about setting up a new currency that's cashless.
Oh, was it a cryptocurrency?
Yeah, they're talking about that.
If they set it up, they control it. There was another presentation by Sisma Bana. He was another Wazungu from Canada, and he was talking about introducing medical technology, and this was really frightening in all the African countries. And they were talking about introducing data. This is a really scary one. Data control.
Oh, the data one, yeah.
So they would have the data, the details on every single African, and then they would be looking obviously to vaccinate everybody. If you're not vaccinated, they know where to find you. They know who you are, so the data control. And if they manage the data, serious things there as well. Someone was talking about.
Sounds familiar to you, Sister Shanice?
Most definitely.
Sounds very familiar to you. I know that they might do, know.
Right, exactly the systems that they've got in place here today. You can't even get a document without them wanting to know your passport, your driving license, your national insurance number, your bank account details. And anytime they decide to lock off anything, they've got you on lockdown. Someone there from public health as well was talking about wanting to take responsibility for all of the healthcare professionals across Africa, claiming to want to offer assistance to revamp all of the level 1, level 2, and level 3 hospitals. Now, we know anytime they get their foot in the door when it comes to hospitals, alongside those hospitals, they have one of their biological laboratories where they do their experiments. So they come in through the front door with one disguise, but behind the back door comes a biological, for example, laboratory. So they wanting to establish paramedics that go across Africa, and it sounds all wonderful because obviously these are some of the things that Africa could do with and would have had it not been for, the IMF loan conditions and the likes that our brother Leo Mohammed was talking about, that was stopping them from being able to spend their money on hospital equipment and everything. Now, because of time, and we are so short of time now, it is 4 minutes away from the top of the hour, but I'm going to run around and allow my brothers 1 minute each. And I know it's going to be difficult, but please try and take the 1 minute. Brother Leo, our dear brother, we love you dearly. And it's okay, people have their different religions and beliefs and stuff like that. But first and foremost, we are all African. We are all African, just irrespective of tribe, religion, culture, or whatever else we might want to pick up along the way. First and foremost, we're an African and is one love as Africans. Brother Leo, love you, my brother. Over to you.
Thank you, beloved sister. Me personally, I really don't waste too much time on the religious. In the end, I think the white man said that of the pudding. And in the end, the reality is that what I'm concerned about is not so much what we say, but what we ultimately argue amongst one another. This is what the enemy is doing. Global health leaders launched decade of vaccines, collaboration, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, global vaccine action plan to guide discovery, development, and delivery of life-saving vaccines, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization, WHO, UNICEF, the National Institute of Allergy and Infections, that's Dr. Anthony Fauci. The point is this, that, see, we can argue, but these people are united to create globally for our destruction. And they couch it as to help the world, help. But make no mistake about it, if we do not unite, work together, come together in order to defend ourselves in an effective way against these enemies' plans. Make no mistake about it. They're planning right now and they're executing their plan on a global scale. They are all over Africa. They're in Africa already. They're actually in the pockets of most of the governments there. So my appeal to us is to not waste time talking about ideology and who believes what and religion, whatever. To recognize that this is the time now for unity and for action as a people.
Rise up, Brother Leo. Over to you, Brother Prophet.
Yeah, just to say that if you want to catch me tomorrow, 9 p.m. GMT time. I'll be interviewing one of the biggest rap artists here in Britain called Two Badder on GalaxyAfiwe.com. Catch me tomorrow, 9 p.m. to midnight, interviewing Two Badder, big time rapper in England. Hotel.
Rise up, rise up. I'll put the links in the description below this video after it goes live. Dr. Abu, last word from you, my brother.
Budum family, is one thing I want to say. The Bible and the bank is the same. One give you a lot of false profit and one rob you of all your profit. Simply.
Rise up, man, full of lyrics. Oh, wow. So, family, to all of those who have been commenting in the chat, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for keeping us company throughout the discussion and the debate. I wish we had more time, but the 2 hours always goes so quickly. But all being well, we will be back next strong, same time, 8 p.m. on the Sista Shanice Show live. Please share the video. Certainly hope that you found it engaging and interactive. And if you want to hear more discussions like this and take part in some of the discussions that we have on the show, we talk like this on the Big G Galaxy Afiwe, the only de-brainwashing station. Rising up. Thank you, panel members. And for those of you already out there doing the work on Mama Africa Land, keep doing the work. I know of many great projects that the diaspora is spearheading on the motherland, and keep doing the great work. Rise up, family. Thank you so much. Budum family. One love. One love. Budum.